K-Pel, welcome back to Acadiana's Morning News as we continue to mark towards Election Day, November 8th, the big day. And joining us on the phone, State Treasurer John Kennedy, who is running for U.S. Senate. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great, So, in talking about the economy, especially in this area here in Acadiana, hit really hard with the downturn in the oil industry in the state. Will the employees, those who work in the oil industry, have a voice in Washington if you're the one who goes?
You better believe it. I'm ready to have a voice right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we're not in our oil and gas industry is 40% of our economy. We've got 50 and 45-year-old people that are the best in the world at what they do. People from other countries come here to learn how they do it. And they're all of a sudden, for the first time in their life, without a job. We're in a depression, man. It's not a recession. It's not a slowdown. You know what the folks in Washington, D.C. are doing about it? Nothing. Now, we know President Obama hates oil and gas, but what's Congress doing? Nothing. We're supposed to have, I'm a Republican. We've got a Republican majority in the House of Representatives and a Republican majority in the Senate, and they're doing nothing. Here's what they ought to be doing. The president and the Congress ought to get together with the governors of every state and the people in the oil and gas industry and say, to hell with the Arabs. They're not going to put us out of business. What can government do to help the oil and gas industry? Do you need us to get the states to cut your severance taxes? Do you need to get rid of some regulations? Do you need working capital? What do you need? Because we're not going to let the Arabs put us out of business. We're going to become energy independent. We're going to start drilling off California and Florida. We're going to start drilling on public lands. We're going to start drilling on ANWR and Alaska. And we're going to become energy independent. And then we don't care what Saudi Arabia does. And we could do it in a decade. We could make this country energy independent. Instead, because the big government Republicans and the Ritz-Carlton Democrats and President Barack Obama and Secretary Hillary Clinton, both of whom hate oil and gas, they're perfectly willing to see our industry go bankrupt. And it makes me angry. Because this world, if you think this world can live without oil and gas, you're living in la-la land. You're smoking some of that medicinal marijuana that the legislature just made legal. Okay? And everybody's sitting around, all our congressmen and all our, all boys in Washington and girls in Washington, oh, this is terrible, well, hell, you got the majority in the House and the Senate. Do something.
Yeah. Well, we're actually learning a lot, and I think Bernie and I both, in the last week, with the recent lawsuit that was filed against the oil and gas industry, 45 companies named, some of them not even doing business here in the state. We were talking to Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, Don Briggs, who said the reason that this kind of stuff keeps coming up here in our state, this pending litigation, a similar suit is pending in the Jefferson Parish courts, I believe, or that judicial district. But the reason it keeps happening here is because we don't have laws against it. In Texas, they do, and you can't do this. In Mississippi and Alabama, how do we move forward to protect, the people who bring vital jobs to our economy here? And do you think, I guess I ask you, what would that law look like to you?
Well, here's how you solve that problem. You step up and you protect your people, okay? I'm all for getting new businesses in Louisiana and technology, and I wish Microsoft would move here tomorrow, but they're not. We are the best in the world at oil and gas. The best in the world. And it's not just exploration. It's maritime. It's oil field services. People from all over this planet come to Louisiana and say, teach us how to do what you do. Man, you guys and gals are the best. Our industry is on its back. It's not a recession. It's not a slowdown. It's a depression. Now, that is a time, I'm not someone who believes government can solve all our problems, but we do give it a lot of money to solve some problems. Mm-hmm. Now, what has state government done or the federal government done to help oil and gas? Well, let's see. Let's count the ways. The legislature in Baton Rouge, led by the current governor, just passed the largest tax increase in Louisiana's history. How's our oil and gas industry going to pay more in taxes? They don't have cash lying around. Working families don't have cash lying around just to give the state government so it doesn't have to live within its means. I mean, it's this attitude that, well, we're government and we got to worry about ourselves and we don't have enough money. And that's not just state government. That's from Washington, D.C. The Washington, D.C. is being run. It's being run by lobbyists, by what I call the bacon-wrapped barbecued shrimp crowd. You know, so many members of Congress, they ought to wear uniforms like NASCAR drivers so you can see who their corporate sponsors are. I mean, they're doing nothing to help oil and gas. The Arabs are kicking our rear end, and the Arabs don't control 70% of the world's energy. They control about 30%. We need to fight back, okay? We need to fight back. And I know Obama's not likely to do it because he and President Obama and Secretary Clinton hate fossil fuels. But my God, we got a majority of a Republican House and majority Republican Senate. Tell me what they've done except stand around sucking on their teeth going, oh, this is terrible. Meanwhile, our industry's going broke. And here in Louisiana, the government's suing them and raising their taxes.
So one final wrap-up question for you, John, and thank you again also for your time this morning. There are 24 candidates in this race. Uh-huh. Did you ever think there'd be that many people that would get into this race?
Shoot, I'm glad.
Really?
I'm glad. I love competition. Competition makes everybody better.
Yeah.
This is America. Look, I'm gonna stay in my lane and talk about my vision for America. I think America's best days lie ahead. I don't think we ought to be scared of our future. I think we ought to grab for it. I think our future can be better than our present and our past, but not if we keep doing things the way we've been doing them in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going up there for. I'm not part of the club in Baton Rouge. I think that's pretty well established. I'm not going to be part of the club up there. And I try not to be rude, but I speak my mind now. And I try to call it like I see it. And I'm going to do the same thing in Washington, and I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do in this campaign and, let the other candidates talk about their issues. And I trust the people of Louisiana to pick the right person. But I tell you what this campaign's about. It's real simple. If you're better off today than you were 8 years ago, if you think America is better off today than it was 8 years ago, I'm not your candidate. You probably ought to vote for one of the Democrats and vote for Hillary Clinton. But if you believe, as I do, that we got to change some things up there, that we still are the greatest country in the world, but if we're going to maintain it, we got to change some things. Remember who we are as Americans. Then you ought to look at me, because I'm not fooling around.
Right. John Kennedy has been our guest, sir. Once again, thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.